In this video, we will learn how to calculate headcount ratio, poverty gap ratio, and secured poverty gap index with an example. The question is, given the per capita consumption expenditure of individuals in a hypothetical economy as we are being given the five individuals with their per capita consumption expenditure is 180, 260, 270, 190, and $160. We are supposed to find out the headcount ratio, poverty gap ratio, and squared poverty gap index. Given the poverty line is $250. Okay, so let's calculate it one by one. So first we need to calculate the headcount ratio, and let me write it here. We calculate the headcount ratio, and headcount ratio, let's denote it by SCR. It is equal to head count ratio is equal to total number of families below poverty line. Okay, and let me write it here. Total number of families below poverty line divided by total population. Total population. Okay, here we can see, since the poverty line is 250, now the number of families which are below 250, here we can see 180 is below 250, 190 is below 250, and 160 is also below 250. So total number of families below poverty line are first individual, fourth, and fifth. So we have three individuals which are below the poverty line divided by the total population, which is equal to 5. Okay, so when you calculate it, you can convert it into the decimals. Okay, so it is 3 upon 5 will be the head count ratio. Next thing is we need to calculate the poverty gap ratio. Okay, let me write it here. Poverty gap ratio, it is equal to, and let me write it the formula, it is equal to 1 divided by n denotes the total population. Okay, and we take summation from I is equal to 1 to q, then we write z minus yj, yi upon z. Okay, so what is you know uh, the meaning of these variables? N denotes the total population. Okay, total population, and here it is equal to, we have 5. Then we have q. Q denotes the number of poor households, or, and let me write it here, number of poor households or individuals. Okay, then we have z. Z denotes the poverty line, which is equal to 250. Okay, and y subscript I denotes the income of ith individual, or expenditure per capita, income expenditure of, uh, let me write it here, income of ith individual. I don't have the space here, I and d. Okay, so using this stuff we can calculate the poverty gap ratio. Okay, so poverty gap ratio will be equal to, poverty gap ratio is equal to 1 upon n. So 1 divided by total number of population is n, sorry 5. We take summation, that is summation from I is equal to 1, and q, total number of poor, are this one, and this one. So we have 3 here, and we use this in place of z. We have 250 minus yi divided by 250. Okay, now we need to expand this, and we can do it. So we have, it will be equal to 1 upon 5. Okay, when I is equal to 1, so we can write, and let's write it in this fashion. So first we have 250. When I is equal to 1, we have 250 minus yi, the income of the first individual, that is below poverty line, that is 180. So in place of yi we have 180 divided by 250 plus, we take now again 250 minus yi, I is equal to 2 this time. So income of the second individual whose income is below 250 here, or expenditure. So here we can see it is fourth individual here. So we write 250 minus 190 divided by 250. Okay, plus then we have, so this 1 upon 5 is multiplied to each of these terms. So again then we have the last individual. So here we will have 250 minus y. So y I will be equal to here 3. So our third individual, which is below poverty line, is fifth individual. So we have 160 divided by 250. Okay, when you calculate it and solve, it will come out to be, you know, let me write it here. It will come out to be, okay, so let me see if I can write it here. It will come out to be 20 upon 125, or it will come out to be 0.16. Okay, so please verify this calculation. I have done it. I don't know whether I have done the calculation right on another page. So please check the calculation here. So our poverty gap ratio is equal to 0.16. Okay, now this poverty gap ratio actually shows us the depth of poverty. By depth we mean how far on an average the poor are below poverty line. Okay, so depth simply means how far on an average the poor are, you know, below poverty line. So this poverty gap ratio shows us the depth of poverty. Now lastly comes out to be scared poverty index. And how do we calculate scared poverty index? Simple. SPGR, we write it also ratio, it is equal to 1 upon n. Okay, then again we have this formula, I is equal to 1 up to q. This time we have z minus yi divided by z, but this time we square it. Okay, so this setup here, n denotes the total population, q denotes the number of poor individuals, z denotes the poverty line, and yi denotes the income of the ith individual which is poor. Okay, and we square it here. So in this case SPGR will come out to be, so 1 upon n means 1 upon 5. Then we have this time we have z, which is 250. So let's write it here. We have 250 minus yi, we calculated yi, income of the first individual, that is 180 divided by 250, but this time we square it, plus when I is equal to 2, we have this 250 minus 190 divided by 250, and we also square it here, plus then we have income of the third individual, that is poor household rather, it is also 250 minus 160 divided by 250, but square this time. When you solve this stuff, we will get scared poverty gap ratio. It will come out to be 0.05. Okay, so please see the calculation whether I have done it correctly or not, but it is, I have calculated it here. Okay, now what is the difference between scared poverty gap ratio and what actually it says? This shows us the severity of poverty. By severity, it gives us an indication of inequality among the among the population living below poverty line. Okay, it shows us. Uh, so light has gone temporarily. So let me explain it again. This SPGR actually it gives us an indication of inequality among the population living below poverty line. Okay, so if I write it in one sentence or in one formula, so let me write it here. If P denotes the poverty and we have this formula 1 upon n, okay, summation from I is equal to 1 to q, then we have z minus yi divided by z raised power a, where a is greater or equal to 0. Okay, when the exponent, when a is equal to 0, okay, remember this, when a is equal to 0 we get head count ratio. Okay, when a is equal to 1, a is equal to 1, which is in this case, so we have the formula for poverty gap ratio. And when a is equal to 2, when the exponent is 2, we have square root poverty gap index or ratio. Okay, so this poverty gap ratio shows us the depth, depth. Okay, sorry for my English. This shows the depth of poverty, and this square root poverty gap ratio shows us the severity of poverty. Okay, severity of poverty. Okay, I hope I make myself clear in this video. Thank you.